Stay warm.
I am. It's freezing.
San Francisco 49ers comeback victory after falling behind 16-0 to the Cardinals. They stay atop the Ravens at 2, Patriots 3. You can read the board. Why don't we immediately stare at that number 1 and that number 2, because we have a critic,
Bruce.
Bruce, who fancies himself as a Batman type, apparently. Ravens slam playoff contender Texans. Niners barely beat 3-win team for second time. Niners to Baltimore in 2 weeks will prove how wrong these rankings are. React in the moment, Dan Hanzus.
Well, perhaps he's right. We'll see what happens in a couple of weeks. But
You're terrible at this. Perhaps he's right.
Well, no, I'm not. What am I supposed to say?
Defend. Hold your ground.
I'm saying he'll be right if it works out that way. The Ravens
If
get the win.
this is risk, I just took Greenland, and I'm coming after Canada from you. Come on.
However, the Ravens, let's not get too crazy
Why not?
about beating the Texans. First of all, the Ravens, they're really playing out of their mind right now. The Texans, I have them at number 10 of the power rankings. I feel like they are right when the drop-off happens, where I'm not comfortable with even saying that you're a Super Bowl contender. So nice win, obviously, but I'm not going to put them ahead of the Niners, because I have to say, I understand the Cardinals aren't a superpower, but it's hard in our league, as Troy Aikman would say, or their league, let's be honest, to beat a division foe twice in 3 weeks, and especially when you don't have your starting running back, and you don't have your best playmaker, a tight end in George Kittle, and you don't have Manny Sanders that he's really beat up right now. That's a nice win for the Niners.
Kicker.
Cynthia, you want to start? You want me to start? How do we want to do?
You know what? You start.
All right. Okay. It's not a big deal to beat your division opponent twice in 3 weeks. If you should be the number 1 team, which leads me to believe that you are your pick to win the Super Bowl. If you're number 1 in Week 11, if this thing ends, you're like, hey, that's the team that's going to the Super Bowl. That's what my interpretation is of your power rankings. Okay. Meanwhile, I've got a Ravens team that has just defeated Seattle in Seattle by 14. The Patriots, which is your number 3 team, by 17. The Seahawks, by the way, are your number 4 team. And the Texans by 34. Those are good teams, and they are in and you can call it recency bias. I don't think it is. It's a 4-week sample. I mean, it's a quarter of the season. They are dominating top-shelf competition, not just winning, but dominating, which is something that the 49ers aren't doing. They are squeaking out wins while the Ravens are crushing all comers.
I get that. And the NFL season, it's long, it's arduous.
It is.
You're not always going to look awesome. But the sign of a great team is that you find ways to get the W. And I'll just say this, the Niners, they will be tested on Sunday. The Packers, who I love, I have them at 6 right now, but I really think they've been battle-tested throughout the season. If the Niners can beat the Packers, that's what I'm banking on at number 1. I didn't want to drop them this week, but if they don't do it next week,
why are we
they're
talking
out.
about the future? I want to talk about the present. You're talking about the future.
It's so close to the present.
Are you more 49ers, Cynthia, or are you more Ravens at 1?
Look, I have to say that when it comes to injuries and kind of finding a way to win that's different, I do agree with you. The 49ers, usually it's their run game that they were relying on, but in this game they did not earn very many rushing yards, and they were still able to manage to win this one. So for me, I do think it's between the two of them for sure. And remember, we can't forget when Lamar Jackson and the Ravens allowed Cleveland to beat them in a weird game too. So there are always some weird things that have happened. So I think 1 and 2, okay, fine. I think it's very close between the two of them. Luckily, they do play each other, so we will be able to play it out. I could make the case of full force San Francisco 49ers, absolutely.
To me, the Cleveland thing's too far. It's too far in the past. When I've got Patriots, Seahawks, Texans.
But if you're more likely to win your division and have everything go through,
which is what they are.
Are the Ravens really more likely to have the number 1 seed than the Patriots? I know they have the head-to-head win.
I think they are.
But I don't know, because if you look at the remaining schedule for the Patriots,
based on their division
easy.
And based on what they have left.
Can I give you the data? Last week I said if the 49ers and Ravens played on a neutral field, the 49ers win 53 out of 100 times.
Well, that's not data. That's just your
opinion.
Wait.
That's
like your opinion, man.
Now it's 51.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
So it's close.
Okay.
So don't get so mad.
I would then
They're both awesome.
Fine. Hey, you want a button? You don't get the button. I get the button. And here's my button on this. Kyler Murray has given them problems. Lamar Jackson is a Kyler Murray multiple. So if they struggle to contain Kyler and he's throwing for 300 yards and is effective against that team, then I would be very concerned about what Lamar Jackson's able to do to you.
Damn it, that's a good button.
Yeah, but
You want a button?
I'm going to
Get a button
now.
if you want a button.
I'm going to button now.
All
But
right.
ultimately, with George Kittle, their defense, we've seen the Ravens' defense be suspect. Yes, they have been sustained better over the past few weeks, but their defense is not as good as their offense, right? So the strength of the Ravens team is their offense, not their defense. So I think with a George Kittle factor, Emmanuel Sanders in there, even their kicker being back, all of these things matter.
Get your button back.
It's a good button.
All
and
the buttoning.
even though producer Matt Tatton's telling me to move, I don't care.
Wrap?
Get your button.
I got to get one more button.
We don't have time.
I
There's
got
no
to get
time.
one more button.
I was told there was no time.
Here's my final button, and now I've forgotten what my final button
Yes!
is because we talked
Final
too long
button goes to Cynthia.
about what my button was
ding,
going to be.
ding.
Oh yeah, no, I
Still
got it.
going.
I got
Oh,
it.
too late.
Still
No,
going.
I got it. Here's my final button. Expected versus actual. What did you expect the 49ers to do at home against the Cardinals versus what actually happened? What did you expect the Ravens-Texans to look like versus what actually happened? And I think that's important. Like, hey, this was supposed to be a battle of these two titans, and instead the Texans were vanquished rather easily, and Lamar Jackson had another exceptional outing. The Cardinals jumped on top of the 49ers 16-0, and it took an incredible rally for them to squeak out a win at home.
Can I be honest, Cynthia? I feel like that's the button that's inside the shirt,
I
the
know.
extra button.
Pretty
I
good.
know.
That's good. That's
I
a
know.
good. That's a
I
good
know.
pushback. All right, now we finally move to the number 3 team, and that is the Patriots. And how concerned you are about a team that needed a Josh McDaniels special to get the game differential score to defeat the Eagles.
Not that concerned. In fact, as a tortured Jets fan, Matty Tanton, our producer, can we get a little bit of a footage there of Tom Brady's press conference? I mean, this guy,
Nice
you would have
jacket.
thought, come on, Tom. You would have thought this guy lost by 50 points. No, he had a win over the team that vanquished him in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and his whole angle is that our offense is not playing well. And you know what? He's right. Then he goes on the radio the next day and says, well, our team is all about defense and special teams. This is, and Cynthia, we taught you this in the pre-production meeting.
Don't out her on the
The
broadcast.
rope-a-dope, baby. It's okay.
You can
She's
out
not
me.
a
I don't
boxing
care.
fan. It's not a big deal.
I mean,
the rope-a-dope, we're getting sucked in. The football cognoscenti, as they call it, is getting sucked in here. And guess what? The Patriots are going to figure it out in December. So don't believe any of this act because they are not a top 10 offense. I don't expect them to be any juggernaut come December. But they will get better, and when you combine an improved offense, which I see happening, and you're going to ask me, why, Dan? How? How's it going?
Why, Dan? How?
Okay.
Oh, is that rhetorical?
The running game's going to get better. Their offensive line, they get Wynn back from IR. They have Tom Brady, who, although he's not necessarily Tom Brady anymore, you know he's so smart.
I think he's still Tom Brady.
Literally,
He's going to
he's
figure
still
some
Tom
things
Brady.
out. He is still Tom Brady.
No one
They
hates
will improve
literally
on
more
offense.
than Matt
They
when
will
he's
stay
there.
good on defense and special teams, and they're going to go 13-3. They're fine.
I completely agree. We've now reached the point in the season where we're like, oh, is Tom Brady's age catching up to him?
Rope-a-dope.
It's the rope-a-dope time, my new favorite expression, rope-a-dope. But ultimately in this one, it comes down to the things we've seen Tom Brady be not so good at, right? Like he hasn't been as great against the blitz as we've seen in the past. He hasn't been so great on those quick passes like he normally is. All of those things will normalize. You got Mohamed Sanu in there. You've got improved. N'Keal Harry has been back. You get Isaiah Wynn back IR. Like, there's just a lot of pieces that are coming together, and they always come together like right at the right time. Like we saw tight end use, right? The most tight end use we've seen all season long last game. So
Remember
it's
Danny
fine.
Playoff Amendola?
Yeah.
Mo Sanu is such a New England playoff hero in weight.
I guess I would just say if they don't have the best record in the AFC and they have to go on the road to get a win, I have considerably less confidence in this team than years past. I do think there are flaws in that offense, and as you said, Wynn's coming back. I just don't. It doesn't look like Brady. Let's see if Sanu emerges into something like that, but it just doesn't look like there's that kind of. There's not that sort of, I don't know, chemistry there that we typically see. Like, oh wow, here's Tom Brady taking a guy that we've never heard of again, and elevating him to elite heights at the receiver position. It's just, I don't know. It feels different this year.
From your lips to God's ears,
Yeah,
my friend.
right. But still, the playoffs would go through Foxborough. So as long as that's the case, who's going to push back?
Joe Beningo, WFA.
And the G is silent. It's not Cog. It's Kanye. The G is silent. I'm just
Kanye
saying.
West.
I nailed it.
Let's look at, how about 4 through 8? You got all NFC teams there, Dan, that are all bunched up. So beyond the Niners, which of those teams, and Cynthia, I don't know if you want to get started here, which of those teams do you trust the most?
The one that's at number 5, the New Orleans Saints, who will most likely be that number 1 seed, at least as of now, per my projections. So when you look at, we obviously saw a weird, uncharacteristically down game at home against the Bucs. They did not win that game. It's a strange, or against the Falcons rather, not the Bucs. A strange result in that one. But now you look at this Drew Brees-led offense. It started to click again. Alvin Kamara back to his full complement of snaps post-injury. All of these pieces on their defense. I mean, I'm like a huge Demario Davis truther. He's probably one of my most underrated defensive players. Cam Jordan's obviously awesome, but you see Cam Jordan sacking quarterbacks, so you know his name more. But Demario Davis is sitting there just slamming the run, making it really hard to run on this team, which makes it very hard to make a deep playoff, or to make a deep playoff run against them if you're not going to be able to run the ball.
Who do you like in that
like
group?
The Packers, I think, and I mentioned it earlier, they have the 49ers on the road. That has game of the year potential on Sunday night. I'm excited to see how they play there. And
you just jinxed it. Now it's going to be like 10-7.
I know, I probably did. But they are a team, it's been kind of a common theme this season when you look at these teams that are really doing well record-wise. Well, who have they beaten? This year, even more than past years, it feels like. At one point, a full quarter of the league was on pace to lose 12 or more games. But the Packers are not like that. They've been battle-tested throughout the season. They have wins over Minnesota, Dallas, Oakland. I'm leaving one out. They had another really big signature win this season as well. And I think that I would not be surprised if they go into San Francisco and win. And I just think with a healthy Rodgers, which is such a big difference compared to last year that people don't kind of talk about enough. Part of everybody Mike McCarthy had to get him out of there, and maybe that was the case. But just as big a part is he was never healthy after that Week 1 knee injury last year, and you see what happens when he can move around in the pocket.
Can you guarantee they're not going to party the night before?
Right.
Yes,
Don't get all Hollywood.
I love that. That's one of my favorite storylines of the whole year.
I guess, I just look at the question on its face. Who do you trust the most? And I trust Russell Wilson the most. I mean, I think if it's look, when you're...
Does he play defense?
But when you're good teams, they're almost always one-score games, right? I mean, that's typically what you see. Rarely do you get the blowout when both teams are good. So if it's a one-score game, I'm going to take Russell Wilson. He's done it all year. He's done it throughout his entire career. And the defense is good enough. The running game is still great. I like kind of the trajectory that DK Metcalf is on. Opposite, and I think Josh Gordon is going to add a ton to that offense.
Don't we always say that, though?
Yeah, and you're waiting.
It's because it happened in one time in Cleveland.
Right, and the thing is, it feels like that's a good atmosphere for him.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, granted, it's wild, rampant, irresponsible speculation to say that based on his past, but it does feel like that's a locker room that could work. And if it does, look out, because I mean that's just, we said it. I think we said it last week. He's so talented and such a freak of an athlete that it could really change a lot.
I need the button here on this one, so I'm going to make sure that happens.
Take the button.
You really think that Drew Brees is less trustworthy than Russell Wilson?
I do. This season I do. Yeah, I think this season Russell Wilson has stepped up to every situation that has been asked for him to step up and come up with ridiculous plays. Like to me, it's, hey, when the play broke down, this is the call that the offensive coordinator made, and it didn't work. So what happens? I think more often than any other quarterback in the league, Russell Wilson's shown, like, hey, it doesn't matter if it broke down. I will make it a successful play.
I still want the button. Okay. Drew Brees and this defense.
Great show.
Over Russell Wilson.
Like I said,
defense.
I mean, to me, it's just one-score game.
Come on, let me button it. Just say no. Thank you. Thank you.
And that's
all
how
right,
you do
up
it.
next. Oh, no, not up next. We still have 9 through 16. Boy, that was a meaty 1 through 8. All right, let's see if we can go on a diet here. 9 through 16. Chiefs, number 9, up 1 after their win in Mexico City.
What's the problem with that?
What?
I don't understand. The Chiefs, that's weird. Like I said, the Chiefs are kind of right on the fringe there, where I want to believe in them. I believe in their quarterback. Obviously, they really stepped up defensively, at least against the pass on Monday night against Phillip Rivers. But who's going to go ahead of the Chiefs? If you're saying that they should be lower.
Or do you think they should be higher?
I think it should be higher.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I'm flipping it the other way. What did you see on Monday that should put them ahead of the teams that are ahead of them right now?
I mean, ultimately, Patrick Mahomes returned to health. They had a weird game against Tennessee. You're seeing the full complex. I think we get Tyreek Hill back. You got to see this whole team's been on some form of an injury report kind of all season long. They have the bye now. Going into this bye, really nicely timed bye. You know how good Andy Reid is after the bye. That's like a narrative. I don't know if you've heard that anywhere before. And also Justin Tucker, opera singer. Just just two storylines you may not have heard. But ultimately, for me, this is what good teams after Thanksgiving just keep getting better, and that's what this team is. This team is set up for that, especially with this bye this week. I know you were there.
Yeah, I was there, and you just saw it right there. Eric Fisher could not block. Joey Bosa, you can see him.
How many people can with that pad level?
That was Chenna Nwosu. Couldn't block him. I think their offensive line's a little bit suspect. They could not stop the run, and you saw that against Tennessee. The Chargers were the better team. I mean,
not their quarterback.
Hold on, I'm getting there.
Okay.
They were the better team. They absolutely dominated them in every facet of that game. They ran roughshod over that defense up and down the field to the tune of double the yards, triple the first downs, and it was a terrible game by Phillip Rivers. Those were not turnovers created by a defense. One was Frank Clark created that first turnover, and he straight beat the left tackle, Pipkins. But if you're telling me I've got to stack that team up against the Patriots and the Ravens, there is no way I am taking the Chiefs to get out on the road with that defense against either of those teams.
Maybe they peak later in the season, but from where they are and what we've seen this year, I agree with you.
Where they sit right now.
You were obviously calling the game during the Monday Night Football telecast on ESPN. Joe Tessitore and Booger talking about the food in Mexico City, and Tess goes, "Oh, Booger! Oh yeah, so much good food. I went +10 on this trip." Just he gained weight, I guess. How about you? Did you enjoy the food there?
It was,
the cuisine?
It's a fine international city, and it's probably the best food that I have had anywhere in at least, I'd say, a couple of years.
+10?
It was that good. Must visit. Must visit, I would say.
+3?
+6.
Whoa, that's a lot for Matt.
I'm a svelte, small person with small bones, so it's hard for me to put on a lot of weight. All right, when we come back, we'll get to our third
Would it be
quadrant.
easier?
It was, speaking of food, very meaty opening to Power Rankings. We'll try to trim some of that fat as we move forward, but we'll focus on the Browns and whether or not they're set to make a run.
Under center. Landry motions tight. Here's Mayfield back to pass. Baker looking, got a man wide open in the end zone with a flag down. Touchdown, Landry! Whatever they did to fix the red zone problems, it worked because, man, was Landry wide open.
All right, welcome back to Power Rankings, presented by the long-lasting power of Energizer. And this is our third quadrant, 17 through 24. You see the Browns' big victory over the Steelers on Thursday night has them moved up 2 spots in your Power Rankings, Dan. But I think the best question and the best way to frame this is, where do they go from here? This is kind of the part of their schedule post-Steelers that a lot of people were pointing to, where the Browns could end up making a run and stay playoff relevant. Obviously, a couple losses that we didn't project is going to make that hard. But if they win out, you feel pretty good that they get in. How likely is it that you think they can actually start to make a run here?
I think they are the most difficult to gauge team, certainly in the AFC, because would it surprise me if they won their next 3 games in a row? No, not really. Would it surprise me if they lost 2 of 3? Or even all 3? Not really, because let's not forget what happened the last time they played. In addition to the total madness with Myles Garrett and that foolishness, he was also arguably their best player. And he's gone now. He's not on the team anymore, at least for the rest of this season. So you take him out of the mix. You wonder what kind of effect that will have on the defense. I just don't know if I trust them. But I will say this. Their record, what is now? 4-6? I do want to push back on the idea that you need to get to 10, because we kind of always assume that. And I think the AFC is soft this year, and 9 can end up getting somebody in the back door with tiebreakers. And if the Browns beat the Steelers, again, they've already beaten the Bills. They have that tiebreaker. They could be okay. They could sneak in the back door without winning out.
Yeah, I think because again, when we said it repeatedly, the important thing to remember about the AFC, and I think you're right. I think 9-7 is probably going to get someone in, but it's going to be multiple teams at 9-7. So AFC record comes into play. It's not head-to-head. So
right.
It ends up being, what is your record against the AFC? That's why these next stretch of games against the Steelers and the Dolphins are going to be so important. In that second game against the Ravens as well. Do you think they can get to 9-7?
So I took a look at the impact of not having Myles Garrett on their team just from a strictly production standpoint. And this is the guy who, by percentage base, has the most quarterback pressures. Next Gen Stats found like 17% of the time, the most for any individual player on their team this season long. So it's a huge loss without him. So their ability to pressure opposing quarterbacks, by the way, that's more than double the next closest guy on his own team. Defensive pressures are a really big indicator of who wins games. So for me, this slid them out. In fact, the one game that really was the turning point is now I actually have them forecasted to lose the game at the Cardinals, which I understand is an NFC, would be
Right.
an NFC opponent, which
would probably be the one game they
would be
could
the
lose.
one game that they could
Right.
lose, and it could still be dicey. But right now they stand at about 28% getting into the playoffs. Had they still had Myles Garrett on their team, then it'd be around 41%. So the big, huge swing for me in that one.
And I think that's an interesting point, because you think about those 2 games, right, against, the kind of impact Myles Garrett can have on Kyler Murray
Right.
or Lamar Jackson. To no longer have him there.
Right.
Is
The
a
Ravens game,
huge
I did not
difference.
have them winning, and I still don't have
Right.
them winning. Some of these other games became between like 5 and 11% closer, different swing in terms of who wins each of these games. So that's kind of what happened. It just like really tails down.
So giving the Saints last week, not this past week, but the week prior, their second loss perhaps boots the Saints from the top spot. We'll see whether or not that plays out. I know there's some tough games on that 49ers schedule. But now perhaps the Falcons have kicked the Panthers out of the playoff picture as well.
They pretty much
I mean,
did.
it's a frisky team. Do we see that continuing? They're up 3 spots in your power rankings, Dan. They still have a game against the Saints moving forward. Can you envision them impacting the playoff picture even more?
Definitely, because I think everyone kind of scratched their heads when they were 1-7, because you never expected them to be that bad. But when you watch them on a weekly basis during that poor stretch, it was never the offense that was the problem. It was always Dan Quinn's defense that was a mess. And they've made some changes coaching staff-wise. Sometimes that stuff gets overblown maybe. But since they've done that, they haven't allowed a touchdown in 2 weeks against the Panthers and Saints. So I think essentially they've returned to who they really were supposed to be, which was, maybe like a 9-7 type team, maybe 10-6 if they get a break. They're not going to get to that record, but they can obviously win more games than they lose this season. So, yeah, I think they could be a spoiler.
They could spoil the entire NFC if you think about it, based on their remaining schedule, where the Saints end up, if they end up in the 2. So they could have like the key to all of it. You're right. For me, their team has way too much talent to be at when they were at 1-7. They were kind of underperforming and like a little unlucky. But the only thing that scares me now is the fact that they don't have the run game. There's a lot of, Brian Hill's their starting running back as of now. now, right? Like they're missing their key pieces there. And when you have good defensive pressure but no run game to back it up, then it becomes like a strange passing situation, which that can mean like volatility, right? So you could get some weird wins or some weird losses. It could go either way.
Yeah, and I mean, and Brian Hill, obviously had a pretty nice bit of fill-in work when Freeman got hurt 2 weeks ago, and then this past week probably should have got into the end zone there as a holding call that pulled that thing back. But when you got Julio Jones, it's like, man, you just think about just all the weapons they have.
Who hasn't scored a touch?
Right.
He can't get in the end zone. But
it's I could see them playing spoiler.
It's also strange that Devonta Freeman, who's out now, but is that a big loss? I mean, he's really stepped back as a player.
Honestly, it doesn't matter. Like sometimes it's just about how many bodies you have at that position. Like now you have Brian Hill, then what after that?
Right.
It's like it's replacement level stuff too. So what run game do you have? Brian Hill gets hurt. Now what?
I don't know. Put a call into Van Morris or something. All right, when we return, we'll get back onto the path of the top 5. Frelund's Power 5, the 5 teams her model has projected to win the Super Bowl in order when Power Rankings return.
Open, he's going to run with it. Dive zone. Touchdown, Ty Gurley. Touchdown, LA. He's got a touchdown. Calvin Ridley for the touchdown. Fires one down the left sideline for Crowder. And he's in. Yes, touchdown, Buffalo.
Elliott picks it off the ground, dances in. That's a touchdown. You can walk the dog on the pass that time.
Caught. Touchdown. And the Vikings have taken the lead. Goes to him, it's a lateral. Edelman's looking to throw. For Dorsett, a strike, touchdown! Mike Thomas! T.O.B. Thing of beauty. And the Ravens are going to crest the 40-point mark yet again.
So you see a quick refresher here on Power Rankings presented by the long-lasting power of Energizer. Still going. Dan Hanzus, subjective 1 through 8 rankings.
Excuse me?
49ers atop, Ravens just behind, and we segue from those to what the data are telling us are the top 5 teams.
I
but
like
your
that you
data
said you didn't say is there. That's how you know you're a real pro. Because data is inherently plural.
Exactly right.
Whoa.
Exactly right. It's data. It's a whole bunch of things.
Cognoscente.
Now this is, and there's an N in there too. Cognoscenti. Here we go. These are for people that need a quick refresher, these are the teams that you believe will win the Super Bowl.
Right.
This is the long view.
This is a long view, as in February, 4th? That's the day after the Super Bowl, 3rd, whatever day is the day after the Super Bowl.
Works
This
for
is
me.
how it would play out
Okay.
if given the information that we have right now.
Can we put that back up? There we go.
Put it back.
That's
There
what I
it
want to
is.
see. Because
There it is.
couple questions. Last week, I was questioning your model. Your model was not here to defend
Price is
herself
Right
or
here.
itself. You had to represent it. And I asked why the Ravens were 6. And
Yep.
because they were projected to get the bye, and that you mentioned that was such a big deal because you play one less game in the playoffs. Makes sense. How did they jump all the way up to number 2?
Well, improved defense and sustained improvement on defense, not just through one game, but throughout the course of multiple games. Because obviously with data, you have to get enough of a sample size in order for it to be sort of relevant and be predictive. And if you have only a 1-game sample size, that's not super predictive of much. But once you get sustained improvement over the course of several games, 3-4 games, then you can start to say this is a true trend as opposed to a one-off anomaly, right? You're going to have different results if you play a bad team than if you play a really good team. So this is basically reflective of, we already knew their offense was really good, and their offense has remained really good and very productive. I mean, how many points per game are they scoring? All of them is the answer.
Is it
and then
because
on
your
defense,
model likes the Texans? Did that have? Because I'm trying to figure out, if it's jumping 4 spots and it was essentially a 1-week jump from 6 to 2, is that because it shut down an offense that maybe your model thinks highly of? And
my
held them
model
to
thinks
just
highly
7
of
points?
Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
My model thinks Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins are a very formidable duo. They think that the run game, thinks it's a whatever.
Hey, I don't know. Is it
Ultimately,
a she? Is it a he? Is it an
You
it?
missed that info.
Is it a
It's
an
group?
it. It's
is
an
the
everything.
Is model like the Kanye and it's
a Kanye
it's a
Senti.
meeting?
Yeah.
We're getting all the bottom of it.
But ultimately, look, when you have more mobile, the increase of mobile quarterbacks and the increase of improvising on the run, we have more quarterbacks like that than ever in the league. So the fact that we have now, the shutting down the Texans in the way that they did was an interesting.
Okay.
I mean, Deshaun Watson had his worst game of the season.
The one other thing is the Packers are now out, but they were on a bye. So
They run a bye.
Same thing happened in the power rankings. Hey, life is tough.
Life
sometimes.
happens. I mean, look, this one happened because their defense and their defensive output kind of has shown some real big holes, as in the run game is a big problem, and that's going to probably decide this week's game against the 49ers. Can they stop the run, or will the 49ers be able to run on them? And you haven't seen sustained pressure like we saw those first few games. We were seeing just tons of pressure from the Smith twins. They're not brothers, they're not twins. They're just two people on the same team with the same last name. So we haven't seen that sustained pressure in a way that's impacting other teams' abilities to earn first downs and touchdowns. You have to stop first downs and touchdowns on defense. And what we've seen is a tail off, especially in that run defense.
And I guess, the one thing I would then ask is, even though they were on the bye, the fact that Kansas City's run defense has been just shredded the
Yep.
last 2 weeks. Obviously, Tennessee got them for a win on Monday night. The Chargers ran right through them with
Yep.
Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler, and I would assume that would impact them. And plus their record, to me, I guess that's the one thing I'm surprised about, is that it's clear Kansas City's not going to have the bye. It looks like the Packers are, or at least are still in that conversation.
They're still in the conversation.
And yet that Kansas City defense, I think,
You know why? Because it's quickness of scoring. With Patrick Mahomes, they can score in under 30 seconds. They can do those quick,
One-play drives.
2, 3 play drives and get in scoring position more often than anyone else. And with Patrick Mahomes and increased out, again, if Tyreek Hill somehow is not okay, he got an MRI.
I think reports are that it's
Ian
minor.
Rappaport reported that he's going to be minor, but we don't know yet. So that could change. But ultimately, with their pieces and all the complements that they do have on this team, this is assuming they get healthier, that the quick drive scoring is just something that, that quick strike is a huge deal.
All right, Dan, you ready?
It's that time.
It's that time.
Random ranker time.
Oh yeah, this is a big one this week. We're going with coach vibe. So the vibe on the sideline for head coaches, I'm gonna rank them 5 to 1.
Got it.
I do want to start with an honorable mention.
You and your honorable mention.
Just to mix
It's
things
5.
up.
It's not
Okay.
6. It's 5.
All right.
See, it's still 5.
Ultimate
Bill
stepdad.
O'Brien. So he's the ultimate stepdad. He's the you don't have to like me, but you will respect me vibe. That's stepdad vibe. So
Okay.
that's Bill O'Brien. Just
All right,
outside
that sets
of
the
top
tone.
5.
Now we know
Okay.
what we're doing
Okay.
here.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
head coaching vibes. All right, go.
Okay, number 5.
There's no timpani. There's
we
no
go.
horns. And
Kyle Shanahan with the cool dad. Now, what you need to know here is that Kyle Shanahan's a younger coach. He's in his 30s. Look at the flat brim. Now, this is youth culture personified, and he knows it. And he's even got the snapback. hat on top of it. He lets it be known on his social channels that he's friendly with Lil Wayne. Like, he's out there.
You think
He's
he
letting
says
you know,
yeet?
listen, I'm
Yeet?
married. What's that?
You think he says yeet?
He throws a yeet out there.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm married. I'm a dad, but you know what?
I'm the cool dad.
I'm still plugged in.
Age is just a number.
That's it.
Or
That's
no,
it.
age is not a number. It's a state of mind. It's,
You're kind of a cool
Something
dad,
about
man.
that.
Oh, gosh,
With
no.
all your
That's
money
my kids.
ties,
I'm not.
with your music
You're a
ties
very
and whatnot.
cool dad.
Number 4, Cliff Kingsbury. This is the single guy. Now, a lot of these coaches get married off quickly and they get kids because you got to do that because it's so hard to have
Especially
a
in
human
college.
life.
That's what they want.
Yeah,
Show
that's
stability
true.
when you go into those living rooms to recruit kids.
Absolutely, but you got
Look at that
look
product in his
Kingsbury.
hair.
This guy says, "I'm on TV. I'm going to put on my form-fitting
Oakleys.
black shirt."
My frog skins.
Do you think that?
And his-
do you
his
think
nose
if he
are
were
frog
caught?
skins.
Do you think
They
if he
are.
were
No,
caught in
those
a
are Oakley
thunderstorm?
frog skins.
Do you think if he were caught in a thunderstorm, he'd get the flock of seagulls going, or is that just you?
Listen, that's an unfair shot, and I think my hair has recovered nicely.
Not really.
It was
It has.
hailing in Los Angeles, for Christ's sake. Anyway, so there you go, single guy. He wants the ladies to see that he's in control on that sideline. Number 3, Pete Carroll. Here's the active grandpa, and everybody wants an active grandpa because that
yeah.
means he's going to be around longer. You want him to hang around.
That is brilliant.
You want him to be.
And it's brilliant because Pete, it would be livid that you reminded people he's a grandpa.
But he's the oldest coach in the NFL. But he
Yes.
doesn't look like
It's
it.
crazy,
he
right?
looks
He'd
like
probably
he's
do the
about
most
50
push-ups.
years old. My mom, Deb Hansis, back when he was the head coach of the Jets for one and done back in '94, loved the man. She and my dad.
can see why.
My dad took it in stride actually. But here he is, 25 years later, and that's Grandpa, and he's not sitting on the recliner watching Perry Mason reruns. He's out and
He's
about.
chomping gum and throwing spirals in the pregame. Like, hey, all right, yeah, what do you guys?
Break my nose.
It's wild that I did not think, not to get serious with your random ranker, but I never thought it would last. I was like, man, that is not going to play with pros, and it's remarkable that it has for all of these years.
Has worked. Number 2, Mike Tomlin, Big Smooth.
Yep.
Just call him
Yeah.
Big Smooth
I
because
can't push back on
this
that.
is what I like about, first of all, the Aviators. He pulls it off. You know, it's cliche to point out the Omar Epps comparison, the actor.
Never heard of him.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but you know what? Look at this guy.
He's got a perfect beard
Is
line.
it 40-0 Steelers or 40-0 opponent? You would never know because the guy he's just Big Smooth. And
His
he's been on
beard
that
is
sideline forever.
perfect.
Chain out.
Beard grooming.
Chain out.
Chain out.
Beard grooming on point. Everyone else who has a beard, take note. He does it perfectly.
You're not going to outcool him. I'm
No.
with
You're
you.
not gonna
Not
outcool
even
him
close.
That's why I call him
Ever.
Big Smooth. And number 1 on the sideline coaching vibes, the wacky uncle. And this is John Gruden wins it because it's Thanksgiving
he's
time,
crazy.
and this is the guy you want to sit next to. Either you want to sit next to him at Thanksgiving,
I do.
or you want to be
I
on the
do too.
opposite end.
No, I
because
want
he's the
right
guy
next
that's
to him.
gonna drink a little too much. He's gonna
Attack the
be a little
Christmas tree.
flip. He's gonna make comments.
Oh, he's going to
his
tell you he
sister.
hates analytics and that you're useless, and then tell you in the next breath, like, but I kind of like you anyways.
I could totally see that as something that has happened in real life.
Perfect face for that, too.
That did actually happen in real
Yeah,
life.
no, I totally believe it. John Gruden, he's a wild card, and at the Thanksgiving
He's a
table, it's
wild
good to
card.
have
Well
one.
done.
The wacky uncle, number 1.
Nice. Nice.
Good random ranker. I
Nailed it.
applaud with my papers.
Thank you very
Well
much.
done. All right, when we return, more conversation and judgment from Dan Hansus. That's what that was.
Subjective.
And that's what we're going to give you more of. What not to do if you're a fan of one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Kanye Sente.
Who's Kanye? Okay, here it is. The final quadrant, 25 through 32, the dregs. Look, it's late enough in the season that we can call it the dregs. It's not polite, but you know what? You can get excited if you're a Jet fan, and Sam Darnold has a nice rebound after a back-to-back, combined 7-interception outing, and then starts rolling a little bit. Kyler Murray looks great, so whatever. Feel good about your team going into 2020. Sure, it's too late for this season to be salvaged, but there's always next year. Advice that you want to pass along to folks that happen to cheer for those teams.
Well, I just want to say we don't need to analyze, obviously, these teams too much. As you said, they're the dregs. However, watching the Redskins-Jets game, and yes, I'm one of the people that did that.
Me
because
too.
I support
Tickets
the team,
were $15.
Yes, there's some things fans, it's tough times, but you got to do the right thing.
Oh.
Now watch this. So Robbie Anderson does a jump. He gives the ball to a young fan, and then a Redskins dude steals it away. I mean, that is, as Joe Buck famously said, that is a classless act right there. I know it's a tough cut to watch. It's a little kid in a Jets jersey. The star wide receiver gives him the ball. It's a memory of a lifetime, and you take the football? Have some class.
Well, or how about, hey, young man, show some initiative. How about two hands? Okay. How about two hands? You got those tiny little kid hands. How about grabbing that ball for yourself?
I mean, money's right, but also, he's like 9. And now on the other side, I'm not going to exonerate the Jets fans either because, again, it's tough. And I know you actually traveled down to Washington to see the Jets. Now watch this.
Far.
This is, I don't know what's going on.
It's so creepy.
Yeah,
What's he saying?
No good.
You got this guy, look, he's trying to grab the ball. If you
or like eat
and look
him.
at Crowder. He's like, what? Look at the eyes. Look at the eye. And that girl, look at her.
Oh, yeah.
We got to set up Matt Tanton with a date. There she is. I'm telling you.
That guy looked kind of like a swarthy Tim Tebow.
Look
at him. Yeah, like a little bit like a swarthy Tim Tebow.
So don't be so thirsty, Jets fans. I know you get a chance to get up close and personal.
Oh my gosh.
Get your hands off the man.
I mean, you probably paid $25 for that seat. They were going on stuff like
Is he
like
taking
15.
a bite out of the shoulder? Is he sniffing the neck?
That's so weird. That's so weird. Don't do that.
All right.
That's so weird.
Honest assessments. You ready?
Yeah.
We're going to pepper you with a handful of teams here, and you just give us a quick, I guess, I don't know, reaction, thumbnail.
Okay. Assessment.
Cowboys.
Look out for the Cowboys. I've been pounding the table. I was on the hill. I was alone, and now all of a sudden there's company with me because we see their offense is as good as any offense in football. The advanced analytics have backed that up all season, and now maybe they'll stack some wins.
Okay. Eagles.
Why is it so hard for them to score on offense? Who predicted this? They need a major upgrade. Jordan Matthews, all due respect to the Matthews family. But in 2019, he's getting 6 targets in a huge game for that team. He had 1 catch for 6 yards. They need more weapons. It's not just the fact that Deshaun Jackson's out. They've not let that team, they're not building the right way around Carson Wentz.
You regularly are able to hide your regional accent, but it just
I know.
Out there with
I heard it.
Huge.
I heard it.
Too much Mike Francesa in my life.
Came out. All right, Steelers.
Oh, see, I didn't even recognize what you said there. The Steelers, I mean, Mason Rudolph, I got in trouble on our podcast, the Around the NFL podcast, for kind of getting behind him, and Chris Wessling was saying, you're a fool, this guy stinks. And then what he does, he makes me look like an idiot on Thursday night. So as good as the defense has been this year, they're a complete liability at the quarterback position.
Titans.
9-7.
It says,
I want to throw one out to you. Can I throw one out to you?
All right, yeah, sure.
All right. Philip Rivers.
I'll give you the Titans.
You want to give me the Titans?
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll do Titans, and then we'll go back to the Titans are exactly what the AFC South always is. They're all going to play spoiler to each other, meaning only one team from that division is going to make it to the playoffs. The Titans are a little wild card spoiler. We're going to spoil you.
Nice.
I like the Titans, by the way. I'm all right with that. Running game defense,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
I know.
I'm saying they all beat each other up.
If we're talking 9-7, I'm all right with the Titans.
9-7 could get you in the playoffs. We just talked about that.
I know, but they're little pokes.
One more. And again,
this is why I screwed this up, because I did not realize there was going to be a wild card in here.
The voice of the Chargers.
Oh, boy.
I want an honest assessment
on
the Philip Rivers era and whether we're
like
reaching
the entire
end.
era? Oh, I got you.
Are we reaching the end of Philip Rivers in LA now?
I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so. I think he comes back next year. I think it's been a bad season for Philip, no question. As great as he was last year and the year prior, specifically taking care of the ball, no turnovers, already has more interceptions this year than he had in either of the last 2 seasons. And obviously, he's still got 5 games to go. So, not great. I think
we've not reached the end of the Philip Rivers football era or the Philip Rivers baby era. All he needs to be good next season is his wife to get pregnant again.
Okay. You know what? Guess what? Cynthia, congratulations. You got the button. All right, let's get to it. Ready? Let's see what. Remember, I'm gonna keep this going. Come on, do it with me.
Oh yeah.
Sess and Wes. Saw. See, it's Sass. S-A-W. Sess and Wes.
The saw prop.
All right, thanks for having us back on the show. I have to say that's probably one of the upsets of the week. The NFL is filled with them, and we're back on the episode. Chris Wessling, I'm Mark Sessler. Let's talk a little bit of adjustments to Dan's power rankings. You've read them, I've read them. I know you have at least one issue.
We need to tweak a few things. I understand why the Bears are over the Cardinals for this season only. Although when I look at these two teams, one team is clearly going up and the other one's going down. They're going to pass each other on the escalator. The Cardinals right now, they're getting 25 to 30 points every week. They're playing everyone tough, and that's sort of an indicator of you're a team on the rise. You went from being blown out all the time to playing everyone tough. And they have their answer at quarterback. I would want to be a fan of this team going forward. Whereas the Bears, you think they're a Super Bowl contender, and now you wonder, is the quarterback going to be back next year? The head coach, the GM, what's the direction of this team? Do we have to start all over? I think the Cardinals are a fun place to be right now.
And, Dan has the Niners up at number 1, and the Cardinals put points up against San Francisco 2 times in a row. So I'm with you a little bit on that one. I'm sure Dan will find a way to tell us he's not with us. For me, I'm going to look at a little tweak, and this is not a massive adjustment. Dan did an excellent job, as always, with the production. But I would take the Raiders at number 12 and flip-flop them with the Los Angeles Rams at number 11. For similar reasons that you're mentioning, I'm not totally giving up on the Rams, but I almost am. They just don't have the spice from last year. And as boring as the Bears were on that game on Sunday night, the Rams, to me, are a tough watch. The Raiders have got something going on with John Gruden, and I already told you last week from my column that the Oakland Raiders, in their final season in NorCal, were going to beat the Patriots in the playoffs. This is from a lockdown machine that said this, Wes.
It's guaranteed. Put it on lock. We're going to take that. I like where the Rams. I like where their defense is at, but I don't trust their offense. And you look at the Raiders; they're playing better lately than the Rams are. I trust them more. They're in the AFC, where they're likely to remain relevant longer than the Rams in a loaded NFC. I'm with you on the Raiders over the Rams.
All right, Wes. So you have an article coming up this week. It's going to be look at comeback players of the year. There's a lot of people involved in that race. Give me one guy.
Well, look at some offensive linemen. Brandon Brooks from the Eagles. This might be the year where there's no skill position player having that Andrew Luck type of bounce back year. So maybe Brandon Brooks from the Eagles, a guard, could take home the honor.
That would be sexy. I know for me, I did a column on my radar called the Joy Meter, and it goes from 0 to 100. And I put Gruden's Raiders up there. It's the amount of joy they're eliciting from me and fans this year at about 87.7. Lamar Jackson was way at the top. And I thought one of the greatest things we've seen was that Money came back from Mexico City without any major subplots attached to his reputation. Nice job there, Money, this week. This is Sess and Wes, and it's, again, we'll see if we're back on next week. This has been a fun ride. Fare thee well.
Oh, a little fare thee well. I would
Saw
say,
2, we call that.
I would like to. I would like to think that I wouldn't be a subplot if I disappeared, right? I'd like
No,
to think
it'd be
that
the
could
main
a
plot.
main
It'd be the
point,
main
right?
plot.
Like, all right, Matt went to Mexico City.
Who's the
He's,
Raiders center?
He's nowhere to be seen.
Barrett
Robbins. Yes.
Okay. I don't imagine you'd be somebody that would pull that. You went +3. That's about as saucy as it's going to get.
But hey, I could, as I well discovered when I was studying in Europe, there are people that just unplug, and next thing you know, they're camp counselors at the Pink Palace in Corfu, Greece for a couple of years. I could have totally just found myself off the grid if I did not have familial obligations here in the States. Like,
That's
you know
Mark
what?
Sessler.
I'm just going to stay in Mexico City for a little while. I kind of like it here.
Hey, you know what? Mexico City, where the East Coast learned about Melvin Ingram.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's so interesting.
Outside.
Constructive criticism. Twitter takes on Dan Hanzus next. All right, as we welcome you back to Power Rankings, presented by the long-lasting power of Energizer. Here we go. Jim Neal says, hard to disagree with Dan, who is clearly one of the world's great minds.
Thanks, Dad.
Aw. Thanks, Dad.
Your dad wouldn't even write that. All right,
Keeps that on
constructive
Twitter.
criticism. Dan, are you ready to take on all comers?
Sure.
This is what I believe they call
you know what
adding
I've
you. You are going to be at.
Yeah, what I've said is people are getting weaker every week.
Used to be you got, and now you got at, I think. Ravens keep dominating the best teams, and the last one had another big candidate for MVP. Whoever does this is a clown.
Oh, damn,
You've
Benjamin.
been shucked by Benny Shuck. I think that's fair.
I told you.
Maybe the clown's a little harsh, but man.
51-49.
Next week it's going to be
matchups.
49-48. It's going to happen, I'll tell you right now. All right, here we go. More clown emojis? Maybe no. Just a diatribe.
Whoa,
easy,
whoa,
Gavin.
whoa. Gavin, who does these rankings?
Rams, I agree. Hot
Working
garbage.
blue.
Raiders ahead of a 7-3. Oh, Bills. There we go. That's what explains
Bills
it.
Mafia.
But the
Gotcha.
Cowboys have a worst record and only beat the bad teams. Lost to the good. Makes zero sense.
We're
Dan,
in Western New
commentary?
York now.
Dan, commentary besides Western New York, taking on geography.
I just want to say that Bills fans, you're right to start puffing your chests out because you finally beat a team bad. We've been waiting for that, but don't get too excited. I know you're 7-3.
Yeah, I would.
Bills
Temper
fans
expectations.
need to be more fun on Twitter. I know they're not used to winning necessarily, so they maybe just mean and take shots, but goodness, like they are of the fan bases.
Western
like,
New York, I think you said.
Woo!
You know.
I know it's cold up there, but I thought you guys were like pseudo-Midwesterners. I'm a Midwesterner. Midwesterners are good people. Money's a Midwesterner. Well, you can be
terrible person.
a
Did you
Midwesterner.
say pseudo-Midwesterners? Are we going to do this thing now? They're in New York.
Whatever. I don't care.
They're
All
You
I
can do
know is
Midwest
that
adjacent.
at least be fun. At
Oh
least
my
be
God.
fun.
Everyone,
Bills Mafia.
I would just-
the Midwesterners think the Midwest is the entire country. You guys find
It
a way to
pretty
put
much
every
is.
state in the Midwest.
Let's
Can
be
we calm
honest.
down?
The
Hey,
Midwest
easy with
is
the you
fantastic.
guys. All right, this is a Cynthia
I
statement.
got Chris
do not
Wessling, an
subscribe to it.
Ohio native, telling me that Nashville's part of the Midwest. Can we just calm
It's
down?
the high South. Nashville's the high South.
All I know-
I would agree.
All I know
Buffalo.
is that Midwesterners are good. Bills fans, be a little more fun on Twitter, and you'll get a
Oh
better
yeah,
response.
this'll
because
work.
Vikings fans are totally
Actually,
reasonable
Vikings
on
fans
Twitter.
are jerks too.
Totally
so.
reasonable on Twitter.
Vikings
All right,
fans are jerks
let's
too.
get one last one in here. Okay, clueless, stupid. Hey, Ken,
Bills
it's another
fan
Bill
Mike.
fan.
Yeah.
7-3.
Bills fan, Mike.
6-4, 6-4.
It's like they gave
all
Twitter
ahead of
only
these, but
to-
your talent about you like writing for the Sunday Funnies. Yeah, yeah, Mike. Hey, you're
Jeez,
nothing but a
Mike.
cartoon artist.
Mike,
is
how
what
old
you
are you,
are.
Mike?
Peanuts. Mike,
Yeah,
how
why
old
don't you
are
go write
The
for BC
The Sunday
or Beetle
Funnies?
Bailey? Why don't you do that?
I
Hi,
don't-
Lois.
I don't know. I watched the games, buddy. I would
watched
suggest
the games,
Mike
buddy.
the Bills
Family
fan
circus.
should watch more than just the Buffalo Bills game every week and then
Wizard
look
of
at the
Id.
standings because that's what I do. I actually watch all the games and then
you
make
don't.
decisions
That's a lie.
based on how I see the teams playing, not just looking at
Yeah.
records.
Far side. No, you're not smart enough for the far side.
Grow up. Goes
God,
for you
no, he's
too,
not
money.
Calvin and Hobbes. You
Grow
kidding me? Zero chance. If anything, he's
Please.
I would not Doonesbury. All right. That's
All
it.
right.
Thanks. You got a button? I got no button.
Still going.
Yeah, there
calm
you
down
go.
with comics.
Thank you
Also,
for watching.
it's
We'll be back
2019.
again next week. See what 55 is down to 51 becomes with the 49ers.
See you later,
and
Bills
Ravens
Mafia.
on a,
Love you
neutral
too,
field.
Vikings
Should be the
fans.
fun
Great.
pages.